welcome to an Around the Lens roundtable discussion. I'm your host, David J. Murphy, joined with me, as always, by Zach Roberts. Hello, Zach. How are you?
Very exhausted, but yeah.
I know you were out. This is January 6th, in case you're watching this after the fact,
Yeah.
which you all are. January 6th, of course, is notable for something that happened a couple years ago. Don't quite remember what it was. Maybe, Zach, you can remind us what happened on this day. Let's say, 6 years ago now?
Well, I was in Georgia, so as all my friends love to mock me, that
Hmm.
also cover photojournalists. But yeah, it was the insurrection, or as they like to call it, the Fedsurrection,
Oh,
when
yeah.
the Feds did the Patriots' job or something. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah. It was. I think everybody knows. I hope everyone still remembers what happened on January 6th. It's not like it's 9/11 where we forget, but yeah,
No, but we should never forget.
yes.
Because it was an important day, and it's interesting to see how the White House is twisting it and whatnot. But maybe we'll get into that a little bit later in our discussion. Well, let's welcome our guest to the program, returning guest, Matthew Callahan. Hello, Matt. How are you?
What is up, folks? How we doing?
Doing great, doing great. Happy to have you back, buddy.
When was
Uh,
I? When was I on the last? I know I was on last time, but when was that?
you were on
19?
episode, I think, 251. So again, I ended the show at episode 250. Took a couple years off, and then tried to jumpstart it again with a
Mhm.
little more like in-person
Yeah.
stuff. And actually, I had you over at the house, and we had Zach on the big screen behind us, and that's when the last time we had you on. So I'd say probably in 21 sometime, maybe, or 22. I can't remember, but it's been a minute. It's been a minute.
Sure has.
And so kind of, tell us what you're up to now. What are you doing? What's the job that Matt is up to?
My job is to study pretty people's faces.
Ooh, exciting.
Um, that's pretty much, yeah. No. So I just a quick little catch up. I wrapped up my undergrad last December. A couple months later, I was able to land a gig at WJZ at CBS News in Baltimore.
What was your undergrad in, by the way, degree in?
Film and video.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, yeah. It was at MICA up in Baltimore, the Maryland Institute College of Art, or as the cool kids like to say, the Institute. Um,
Sounds very Fallout.
I mean, a little bit. It used to be like this hardcore institution for architectural drawing and all kinds of other like weird, hard stuff that was kind of creative. Its identities like morphed into all kinds of different things over the years. Now they're just kind of like a graphic design farm.
Right.
Yeah. The film and video program that I was a part of was a major and no longer a major.
Hmm.
Kind of bummed out. We were one of the last cohort to go through as for our undergrads, but yeah, landed a job at WJZ. Super grateful about that. Like a return to broadcast video. Like
Hmm.
we're going throwback. Like I went through the broadcasting course in Dinfos in 2014.
Hmm.
And like, so we're back to that kind of stuff. I'm like, all
Hmm.
right, here we go. I put it off for so long, but
Hmm.
I was like, all right, let's do it.
They pulled you
And
back.
they pulled me back, and honestly, I'm having a blast. I'm having a good time.
Yeah, that's great. Did your film and video course require you to create like a film or a short film?
It sure did. Yeah, I put together a senior thesis. No, it was like a film short about the disintegration of my parents' relationship
Whoa.
as a wee lad up in Alaska. So
Wow.
we were unpacking some trauma. It was a good time.
Yeah,
It's a
I
very
bet.
art school thesis for sure. I like to think the production value is just a little elevated, but yeah.
I hope
It
you
was
had some drone shots. That's all I gotta say.
There was literally one drone shot. I used one single drone shot for effect. It was like a fire for effect, just boop. And yeah, in 13 minutes, one drone shot.
You should have said was I used one drone shot during the entire film. Oh, and it was also a oneer. So, anyways, drone flies in. It's all one shot.
That'd have been cool.
That would have been cool. It would have been very adolescence or whatever that show is, or any of these oneer shows. But awesome, man. Well, great to have you on.
Well, thanks,
And
Brad.
what I
That's good.
want to talk about a little bit with you is, obviously your time working in broadcasting, you've been really trying to innovate and expand on the quality of lighting setups of your cast and crew, or
Yeah.
sorry, your cast when you're filming a stand-up, and a reporter at a location. So talk to me a little bit about that sort of process, kind of when it sort of how it originated and what your kind of general sort of setup is.
No, absolutely. I think I understood pretty early on, kind of getting into this line of work, that principally the reporter who's going to be on the television screen giving folks at home the news like needs to look really good. Um, I never watched local TV news very deeply, and even like after kind of like going through Dinfos and like kind of being in like the visual imaging space for as long as I have now, TV news was just kind of something I stayed away from, especially local. And the reason is because a lot of it's just like doesn't look good. It's very pragmatic, flat, like informational imagery. And it gets the job done. It's effective in like telling the news, but I don't know. I just kind of got on deck there and I was like, all right, well, how can I kind of add a little bit of like what I like to do into this, instead of kind of understanding that like the big ENG potato I had like was incapable of producing the images that I wanted. I was like, no, I don't think so. Well, we're going to try some stuff. We're going to push it. Um, and a lot of that kind of came to fruition through the live performances that I set up with my reporters. Um, Simple setups, but like I was the night shift guy, so 11 o'clock was like our primary news hour for package.
Hmm.
And I'm just like, all right, let's just go for like noir, man. Let's just like make it dramatic,
Hmm.
make the talent look good.
Hmm.
Um, and it took just a little while. Like some of my reporters were like, what do you like? They're kind of like, everyone was really nice. Like they're all really good people, but they're just kind of confused at first. I'm like, can you just take 12 steps back? Actually, I don't need you right in front of my lens. Um, but yeah, we started to kind of like develop a style. It's really kind of a simple lighting setup. It's two lights, one key, one hair light typically, and whatever kind of environmental light I can like latch onto for background, for depth in the image.
Hmm.
But yeah, usually I'm like kind of crushing the background. I'm putting when possible, like I
Hmm.
put my reporter about 15, like 12 to 15 feet away from the lens, push it right in. And that lets me get really close with the lights. It's using like a Frezzy skylight, little barn doors. So it wasn't an LED. It was like an OG, like actual light.
Wow.
And what I've noticed is like having jumped over to DC, everyone's using like the big, light panel Astra 6 bys with like the big soft boxes. And it looks great. Like it looks fantastic. Um, I didn't really have like a solid understanding of like the difference between those kinds of lights until I like switched over,
Hmm.
and I kind of understood what I was losing, what I was kind of like sacrificing. And it's still something I can't quite put into words yet, but I need to do more studying, a little more light science work, and just get into the nitty gritty of like the nomenclature for how these lights work. But um, yeah, it's pretty much all I got right now.
So you developed this kind of innovative lighting style, and you're using these old-fashioned like big lights. How are you powering them on location? Is it through a news van or portable
They're
battery
not,
pack or what?
and I said skylight, and I like it, that's the actual technical name for it, but it's actually only about this big.
Oh, okay.
You just attach a battery to it,
Okay.
got barn doors on it. That was kind of like the secret sauce, I think, for like what really brought, now that I think of it, like drama to like these kind of live performances, especially
Hmm.
at night, is like just really manipulating those barn doors to like just kind of get like slivers of light coming in, just like bring it in, so they're
Hmm.
not just being totally blasted with it. What
Right.
I'm so used to seeing, or I've been so used to seeing, is just, there's like a single light on the front of the camera and it's just boom.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
Flat,
pragmatic.
straight,
It's
zero
practical.
shadow.
It's the most practical thing. And obviously like the news business, and especially the TV news business, is like always operating on intense intense deadlines. And, part of the culture is like, it doesn't have to look pretty. It just needs to get to air.
Yeah.
And I'm like, right on, like, absolutely, like 100% there with you. And it turns out in a fairly large size market, I think Baltimore is like 28 or 29. Um, like you have time to like make it look good. You have time. I had time. And if I had time, then that means that everyone else had time.
So talk to me about the time component, because you're talking about setting up, two separate lights, both battery operated, I presume. Neither of them are LED, right? Or one is LED. I can't remember. What exact lights are you using?
Neither of them were. They were both. I think one of them was a Frezzi skylight or sky panel. I don't know what this exact nomenclature was. But yeah, about a foot long, and about 8 inches. So a little box.
Okay.
Maybe a little bigger than that. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. And then the other one was just basically just like a catch light, if you will. Like it was just a little thing about the size of my fist. Put it on a stand, just blast it back for some fill on the hair and the shoulders. And so kind of talking through like the technical side of things, you're kind of moving backwards. Like your whole night is like moving backwards because everything has to coalesce around packages done like and submitted by like 10:45 so that they can look at it back there. So you're editing before that. And you're considering just, that time. You also have like the 7 o'clock. Sometimes we're in the 4, 5, 6, and 7. For the earlier shows for the evening, usually it's just a VO. For those listening who don't watch television news, probably a lot of you, voiceover. So basically, a reporter talks over a montage of footage that either I shot or we had on file or whatever, et cetera, et cetera. But as far as like the setup itself is concerned, like so long as everything kind of falls into place, and say it depends also on like what the story is, like how I'm going to set things up. Sometimes, rarely, it's just I have to be the one that blasts that light and just, like it's pragmatic. There we go. But in the events where like the events passed and we did interviews and we got B-roll of whatever happened, and we just kind of scout locations, like go back to the place where like ostensibly where the event occurred and figure out kind of like what I want in the background of my reporter, to just kind of give it something. And when I'm crushing the background, like a lot of times, like, the idea of like the reporter stand up or live shot is like, I'm here at the location doing the thing. Like there's no rule book or like official doctrine that says why reporters have to like do these things. It's just kind of, I don't know, Zach, you have any input there? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, I used to produce pieces for BBC television way back in the day, and we innovated because I was lucky enough that occasionally I was B camera, and our main camera was a guy named Rick Rowley, who is basically like a god at PBS. He does all the frontline, all the big documentaries. He's an Academy Award nominee for Dirty Wars. Like, we got him long before that, and he was innovating by the fact that he was using mini DV cameras back in 2006.
Oh, hell yeah.
And so he had a Z1U. I ended up buying it off of him, and we were doing mostly run and gun, very few tripods. Lighting setups were usually, because the mini DV cameras compared to the old beta cameras and stuff like that, the low light was insane. Like was insane, it was good. Yeah. And so like we very rarely ever ran with anything, and so believe me, like the idea, like, and like they ended up trying to steal Rick and like have him advise BBC. This actually a question was like, are you getting like feedback from, because I remember went to a short course. I won't name names, like many years ago, MPPA short course many
Uh-huh.
years ago, and I remember stepping in on one of the local news videographer, award-winning guy, front cover for like a MPPA, like at least 5 issues. Like it was the kind of insane,
Yeah.
and like his big innovation was like, and this is many years ago, was like we're using a GoPro as a third camera, like when we were doing two, back and forth, thing. So we have the wide shot, and it looks like absolute trash because it's a GoPro camera compared. And it was just like, this is, and because like again, like we're doing basically feature film kind of documentary like level kind of stuff with Rick,
Yeah.
with like the
Yeah.
this god of like cinematography. And so it's just like I'm just interested. Like first off, like what cameras are you using? Like ENGs, are you using like the Panasonics, like the more I don't know what they would be considered called, or are you using mirrorless?
No, we're using ENG cameras.
Really? Okay.
Sony like P and something 400. The what
Yeah.
you imagine like a TV news
Yeah.
guy
Yeah.
camera.
Yeah.
That's what we're up to.
I mean, they're absolutely incredible now. I mean, like they're
Well,
so much
that's
better
the
than they
other
used to
thing.
be,
Like
but it's
it's
still
like
so.
the camera that I was using to shoot at Jay Z was like probably like 2015 like
Yeah.
era like ENG camera, and it's like it's a 2/3 inch sensor. Um, Comparatively to like contemporary cameras, low light performance is
Yeah.
absolutely abysmal. And it had a really nice piece of glass slapped on the end of it though. And I realized too, like kind of as the months went on and as I kind of got, into the flow of like storytelling just on a nightly basis, and just like finding ways to frame things like,
Mhm.
oh man, like you can make incredible imagery with this camera. It's just you can't blow it up very
Yeah.
big.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, but you could like it's 1080. It's a really rough 1080.
Yeah.
It's interlaced, so you got to work around that too.
Yeah.
That's always
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
But Dave, just a question for you. Like, this is our video also going somewhere too,
Yeah.
or is it
Yeah, this
just?
will be this will
YouTube.
be
Yeah.
video and
Yeah.
audio just like it used to.
I was gonna say, like, I've been talking a lot about like these live shots. Can I just bring some up on the screen?
If you have them ready, sure, go for it.
Yeah.
I sure do. Share is disabled, so I'm gonna need you to kick that one in, bud.
Oh, okay. Let me see.
But yeah, like the GoPro as the third camera
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
funny to me
Yeah.
because like
Yeah.
that
It
was
so big, 2010, like something. Yeah. No, I know. Yeah.
and there is like this weird like visual culture and
Yeah.
vernacular in TV news. Like it is unique to TV news, and like
Yeah.
it's the opinions about what makes it good are
Yeah.
a lot of times unique to
Yeah.
TV news.
Yeah. It's that, I mean, but that was something I was wondering about, is that like obviously we'll hopefully see it in a second, but like because like it does stand out. Like I remember rewatching like BBC broadcasts of like the standard BBC sit down hair, like standard light setup, blast them, and then whatever the classic gripping, like with a stand-up microphone and doing the thing. Like we would make fun of that. We would actually do like a bit, like kind of usually in our pieces, or it's just like this is Greg Palast with BBC, and it would just be like part of kind of like you would actually kind of giggle at it because it was so out of place with the piece. And but like you'd watch the whole BBC thing and you're like, what the fuck is this? You're like not knowing, whatever, but it'd be like, have you been getting like any reactions from anybody else, like either at your own network or at other networks, of just being like, wait a minute, what? Like there's a lighting setup for that.
Yeah, and I think so. And I'm trying to share my screen. I got to close out my
You should be able to share it now. I think you gave permission.
it's a problem on my end. I need to restart Chrome, so I
Uh,
apologize. I'm gonna have to do this thing, quit and re.
hmm.
Oh my God. This is very off subject, but oh my God, I think I shot like I'm shooting at 4K on my
So
full
sorry
frame.
about that.
Yep, but you're good. Shooting at 4K on my mirrorless camera, and I'm just like, and just little short little clips, and I still managed to, I think, shoot, I think what does it work out to be? I think it's around uh oh dear God. Yeah, still 70 gigs, just a video. That's actually not that bad. I thought it was gonna be a lot more, but it's just like been killing me.
So Zach,
Oh,
sir,
today you shot 4K.
Yeah. I usually shoot 4K if I think of it, like if it's important. Sometimes I like shoot CPAC or something like that. Like I'll shoot 1080p, like, or the or something like that. Just because it's like if it's 7 hours worth of video just kind of running on loop, then it's just like I can't, I don't have enough money for solid state drives and hard drives for that. It has nothing to do with like a preference. It just has to do with the amount of money that I have available. um, which I should say, like, oh, dude, I don't think I have it. I don't know where I put it. I have an entire bucket of mini DV tapes that I have to digitize that I have to figure out how to digitize. So from
Yeah,
my
I've got some
Z1U.
old VHS tapes I've got to figure out how to digitize.
Oh,
I
this.
tried to do it with I had this like VHS converter tool, but the
Mhm.
video doesn't show up when I play it. So it's like, I guess I have to give it off to a company to do it
I
because
mean,
I can't
those,
figure it out.
yeah. I some work, some don't. I can ask my friend who does it quite a bit, because he's a big video preservation person. Um, I can ask him what he uses because I'm pretty sure it's not that expensive, whatever he's using. So it's probably one of those like box things or whatever you can
hmm,
do. So
right on. I think, yeah, see this?
Hmm.
Cool. So, what, Zach, what were
oh,
you
what is
asking? Or Dave, what were you asking?
All right, so let's go ahead.
yeah,
I'm gonna cut this all out. So let's go ahead and start
yeah.
again. All right, everybody. So we're back with Matt. He's pulled up an image that he shot from one of the stand-up locations and a news story that they were covering. What's the context for this story?
This was a
Just so we know what's
four
going on.
alarm. This was a four-alarm fire.
Hmm.
This was like a really intense four-alarm fire. It was a warehouse that was like just lit up. I actually got the drone out for this one. It was a really good time. But so this is one of the last stories that I shot for WJZ before I jumped over to News Nation in DC. Um, so I was kind of firing on all cylinders here, and there's like an emergency bivouac area, and nothing dangerous is going on here. So I had just this perfect opportunity to set up and just like crush the background and get like all this environmental context as to what's going on. Like the lights are blasting all around her, just like filling the whole frame. Um, what I kind of was working against is the idea that like we were talking about this before I had to cut out. Sorry about that. Um, but the idea that like the reporter on the scene, like you need to like the background like has equal weight to the reporter on the scene. You'll see that in live shots all the time. Like super deep depth of field, like backgrounds kind of haphazardly framed around the reporter, and a lot of the
Hmm.
time it's kind of again it's haphazard. Like it's a very pragmatic way to frame somebody. I had this idea kind of after the first couple like kind of thing like feedback pieces of feedback
And
I
that
got.
teen charged with attempted murder is now being held at the Baltimore County.
um, was, hey, this looks really good. My executive producer like got back to me like on one of the first times that I like kind of experimented with this, and she was just like, basically just keep doing that. So I think one of y'all asked about that earlier. Like I got that endorsement
Yeah.
pretty early on, a couple months in, and then I just started to kind of refine my technique. And a lot of what it is, it turns out a ton of stories don't really need a background for you to know that you're in the location, and they're not, the context of those is not really necessary.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And kind of as I started to like push this thread and pull on this thread, like I realized like, oh, I mean, what is the point of a reporter? Like they're they're SAG-AFTRA union members. Like they are
Hmm.
performers. They're as much performers as they are journalists.
Hmm.
Uh, and kind of just leaning on that performance aspect of it, all right, like The idea is for them to form a parasocial relationship with the audience, so the audience continues to come back to watch them, specifically them. And
It's also interesting, like, is that other the second shot with the male reporter, like, I'm sure that the people of that one was Baltimore too, right?
yeah,
The people of Baltimore know where that is. Like,
yes,
even though it's out of focus, like I don't know because I'm not that familiar with Baltimore, but like it's local news. Like, it's something that's just like I spent the entire afternoon today trying to get the White House or the Capitol. It's slightly just blurry in the background, just like placement, type of thing when I'm doing interviews or taking photos. And it's just like, yeah, you just need it like slightly out of focus, which is a tough thing to do with ENG cameras because of the flatness, like
yeah,
everything is in focus. Yeah.
oh yeah,
Yes.
100%. But so, and that's where kind of like the crushing the
Yeah.
focal length comes into play. Like I'm like at 120 millimeters right now,
Yes. Yeah.
or like 120 millimeter equivalent.
Yeah.
Sun setting behind her right there, so we got that really really nice hair light, shoulder light. Um, but yeah, let me stop sharing. Is it still sharing?
No, no.
No.
It ended right on.
Yeah.
But yeah, like kind of thinking in terms of like parasocial relationship, like obviously like everyone's there to tell the story and do the journalism, but like there's this extracurricular aspect to television news, as in like the broader news industry. Is like, no, people watching this come back for the individuals that are telling them the stories, not for the stories themselves. That is a fact. That is probably the truest, in my opinion, the truest fact in broadcast journalism. Full stop.
Yeah.
Full
So when
stop.
you started to do this lighting setup, and by the way, were these lights that you provided, or were they provided by the company?
No, they were provided by the company. The station had a bunch of them, and a lot of it is just very, very standard news gear.
Right. Okay.
Like I never heard of Frezzy until like I got over there, and I don't know
Yeah,
if
me neither. I never
I,
heard about it until you just told me about it.
yeah, yeah,
I know like Amaran and Ari and a
yeah.
million other brands, but I've never heard of Frezzi. So you come out there, you do these complicated, or not complicated, but you do like I would say you put some effort into the lighting setups. You're starting to produce these, beautiful pictures. What's kind of like the first reaction going around the newsroom? Is it just kind of like, oh, everybody's really impressed, or is it like maybe your bosses are giving you pushback and saying like, why are you wasting all this time setting up these lights? What's kind of like the overall reaction when you start doing this? Or do you have to get permission to do these, or was it just like, I'm going to do it because I think it's great?
The great question. I was very surprised at the amount of latitude I was given to do kind of like, it really was like, hey, so long as it's technically correct and gets in on deadline, like I was given a ton of latitude to kind of just roam free and more or less do what I wanted to. Again,
Hmm.
so long as like the news is being completed on the time it needs to be done.
Sure.
And as far as like the newsroom is concerned, I kind of built a little bit of a reputation out there.
Yeah.
What I showed one of my reporters. She's wicked funny. I showed her like a couple of them in a row, and she was just like, "What did she say?" She's like, "I'm here to make these bitches look good." Yeah, like that's what we're here to do.
Hmm.
Someone else called it glam maxing, and I'm like, yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's a little different, and kind of so around the newsroom, everyone's like pretty jazzed about it. I built a reputation really quickly, um, and then I got like my drone license, and then we started to like incorporate like just wild drone footage into some of
Hmm.
the packages, and it was just a good time. It was a really good time.
Yeah.
Everyone was rad. It was kind of like I had their trust and confidence pretty early on, and yeah, we just kind of rolled with it. Uh,
Cool. What kind of drone do you use?
I was fortunate enough to have a DJI Mavic Air 3. It had one of those. It had a dual lens setup on
Oh,
it,
okay. Cool.
so it had like your standard 24 millimeter equivalent, and then it had like a 70 millimeter equivalent. And oh boy, let me tell you what, I've been waiting since 2017 to have parallax in my aerial imagery.
Mhm.
And boy, I got it. And boy, was I happy about it.
Yeah.
Like, just, oh man, that's the kind of nerd stuff that no one cares about, that I'm just like, yes, please.
Well, enjoy that DJI while it lasts, because we ain't getting any more new ones.
No, it's gone now, right? Yeah, like, well, I mean, I have we got some good stuff at my new outfit. It's News Nation is like Nextstar's tossing into the cable news network pile to compete with MSNBC and CNN and Fox News. So they're throwing a pretty decent amount of resources at our newsroom, which is nice. So they got some pretty high end DJI drones just in time, but obviously we can't fly over DC, so I had to go on an assignment for that one.
Yeah, how does that work? I mean, you have a drone license, right? So you can fly a drone commercially, I presume.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you can't. I know obviously around the White House it's very controlled, but I mean, the whole of DC is a drone off limits?
No, completely, totally. Like,
Wow.
there's an intense. I'm not going to bring it up. We don't need to look at sectional charts right now, but yeah, you can't fly anywhere remotely close to Washington DC. You just can't. There's I think it's like a 30-mile zone.
Wow.
And there's like a 5 or 10-mile one that's just like DC proper.
Yeah.
You can get permission to fly on the exterior one, because a lot of that like kind of cuts into like Baltimore, and it's like, all right,
sure.
Yeah,
I remember I was shooting a drone shot, or trying to shoot a drone shot for one of my short films. And I went over to the person's house thinking like, oh, I'll shoot a drone from over there. We get there and it's like, nope, I can't even take off because we're too close to DC or something. So I'm looking at the drone map and we're driving away from like the zone where we couldn't fly. And so I'm just watching our little icon on the screen as we go further and further out. And as soon as we got to a point just outside the circle where I could bring the drone up, I did. And so I got my shot that way.
Hell yeah. Yeah. It is hard geofenced. And yeah, it's the most secure place in the world, I guess.
Yeah, no, I have to build my own drone in order to get around that, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the American drone market will be, just popping up just anytime.
Indeed.
I really wish. I hope. I really do. Like,
maybe GoPro will get back in the market again.
Back to the GoPros.
Yeah.
They asked me at my old station, my previous station, like, do you want a GoPro? And I was like, no.
For what purpose?
What am I going to do with it? I don't need the elusive third shot. You just need one nice shot and maybe a second shot. Maybe. Yeah. You just need one nice one. That's it.
So when we were talking about this, you said that the lighting setups you've been doing have sort of been gathering attention outside of your newsroom, right? Like, it seems to be this style has sort of become trending within news stations, I guess, across the nation or the area, or you started a trend. Is that kind of what you said, or?
No.
Okay.
Sorry about it. Unfortunately, I'm not that exciting.
Oh.
Plus, I think also there's just there's a conversation to be had about, all right, does this, like, what are we trying to do here? Like, there has been, like, what pushback I have received. It's been very, very soft, but it's kind of like, it's not articulated very well, but I get this impression that people think that it shouldn't look that way because that's not what news is supposed to look like.
Yeah.
Right. It almost looks too good. It looks too cinematic, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, and that's kind of a little bit. But yeah, they're scared. I don't know. Like, what do you guys think? Like, why do you think there would be such like a kind of it's not a huge resistance, but there is like this, like, hesitancy, like almost fear of like doing it like the way that
the only thing I could think of is that maybe the beauty of the shot overshadows the story itself, like you're kind of taken away out of it a little bit, maybe, or perhaps we're distracted by how good the image quality is that we're not paying attention to what they're saying. I don't know. It's a reach, but that's the only thing I can think of that people might,
Yeah. I had those thoughts. Is it overdoing it? And then I went back to like that original thought of like the whole point is the reporter. I'm like, I've done that
Because I mean,
before.
like you could take the shot, you could do things to the nth degree, right? Like imagine you have a dolly system and a crane, and you're zooming around the reporter and doing like cinematic shots with a dolly and crane as they're doing their stand up.
I mean,
I
they do
mean,
that. They do that stuff in studio. You know,
They
I
do
mean,
it all
like,
the
but
time.
so
CNN
imagine
spent.
doing it on location, right?
It's something I was watching. I very rarely watch like cable news. You know, just like running. You know, like I used to keep it on all the time in the background, and my stress level. You know, but like I'm talking about. You know, like MSNBC or CNN or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was watching it. I'm trying to remember what it was. Trump's speech, and so like it kept on afterwards. And I just kind of like kept it on in the background, and I caught my eye. They were doing this news piece that I don't understand, that they were talking to somebody on a live like Zoom shot, like crappy, you know, like worse than what we have right now,
Yeah.
like Zoom shot, and then they were v- basically running like not even B-roll, but like very clearly shot for like a news piece kind of stuff, like not B-roll, like as the video of the news piece in the other box. And then there was on the side there was the two reporters, or there's the reporter, and then there was the person they were being interviewed, and then they're showing it. And that's how they do this all the time. Like we used to.
Were
I
there
just
four?
think.
You saying there were 4 boxes on
No,
the screen?
there's sorry, three boxes. There was the reporter,
Yeah.
the I'm sorry, the on camera,
Anchor.
news host, yeah, and then no, just the host was interviewing very clearly producer, you know,
Yeah.
like pre-run. And I've seen that before. I've seen it multiple times, and I always thought it was like, oh, something went wrong. So, you know, be like, okay, so I don't, you know, maybe the voiceover, maybe the mic was bad, and we had to like do something in the back. And like, no, they ran this entire like it was a 3 minute segment, which you know, obviously you never see on cable news a 3 minute segment that is produced versus whatever. But there was a produced piece playing on a loop, on not even a loop, but like a full thing.
Wow.
And then like the anchor and the person being interviewed, and for some reason the anchor is interviewing them, and I'm like, I'm literally looking at the person in the B-roll footage, um like doing things, like it was at a store or something, I forget, it was about the economy or something like that, and I'm like, what happened? Like what, like how is it the fact that like since it's on cable news, like we used to like the rigmarole that we went through to give, because we produced for used to produce for Democracy Now,
Yeah.
and a couple of, and also just for ourselves at a certain point, because like it got to the point like trying to get a produced news piece on anything was insane. Like a full investigative story. Like I work as an investigative journalist and as well. And like you know, we used to do these 9 15-minute long pieces, obviously unheard of, you know, for BBC, and then Al Jazeera. And like, but we literally would try to give them to Joy Reid, like the weekend shows, Joy Reid, and then I forget what the reporters afterwards, or the hosts afterwards that became, and like the amount of like pushback that they were just like straight up no, like MSNBC producers were just like, no, we can't run any of a segment. Like it was just like maybe a clip. Like we finally, like Al Sharpton would, I think, ran one of our pieces like
Did they
2 minutes of it, because
why?
they're like, we can't have, because they don't know what they're gonna, somebody's, I guess, we never got like an understanding. It was always, I think what it came down to is that they're worried people are going to turn on the television, and their host, you know, I mean, this is very much MSNBC and very much CNN to me.
Yeah.
I don't know, you know, and not see, you know, Al Sharpton, and not see whatever, and be confused, and not, I don't know what, lose their mind and never turn on MSNBC again. And so it's just like this weird thing where it's just like, if it's not like in the studio, in the thing, you know, whatever. I mean, I think that's why like Ali, what's his name? Who
Are you
does a lot of,
talking about like I'm kind of
yeah.
losing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm talking
Wh-
about like cable news, yeah. Or like
yeah,
MSNBC.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like about like what was what you described earlier, was that
Yeah.
the piece that you guys produced, like the multiple
Yeah, we produced, and he was going to be like, Greg, journalist I used to work for, Greg Palast would be the on. You do like an interview, and then like like on Democracy Now, it's not a question. They just run the whole piece. They run the 9-minute piece or whatever because it's Democracy Now.
Yeah.
And they're not paying for it. And then they do like an interview with the host or whatever, or they do an interview with the journalist who did it. And that's how BBC, that's how Newsnight did it as well. They would run the piece and then they would talk briefly with the journalist a little bit more, flesh it out. And like cable news, like we would just like offer these pieces to them and they would be like, we can play a 30-second piece. Or what they would do is they play the piece silently as the host was on, like as the host, and then Greg Palast, the journalist, was on talking in that like 3-box kind of thing. And it was just always like they would never run the piece. They would just never run. And it wasn't like a journalism fact-checking thing. It was never like, well, we haven't vetted the journalism, we haven't done anything. And it was just, I think that they're just terrified of trying anything new, and anything that doesn't look different. I mean, it's the same reason. I mean, MSNBC can do what you do, and even their live shots.
And they do. And what I've gotten, the kind of like with the feedback I've gotten now, when I haven't really done a ton. I mean, I've been in my current role like for just over a month.
Yeah.
I just learning the ropes at this point, like getting used to the process, systems, like like going live at the White House, like harassing senators in Russell and harassing House folks in, what's it called? Canon.
Yeah.
But, I like what I was told at the beginning is like, hey, News Nation doesn't really have a visual identity. And I'm like, well, you hired me based on, like ostensibly the imagery that I produced and like kind of storytelling that I bring to the table. And they were like, it's a blank slate. I'm like, cool. And, I made a little adjustment to like the lights once, like everything's flat, super flat. And I like kind of brought some values back. And like, I immediately got like questions. I'm like, whoa, okay. And it's like, everyone is very like, just the goal, how my supervisor put it to me this way. And I think he had a really good point. TV news is trying to be inoffensive as possible. And that like bleeds into every single aspect of like the production itself. My argument is, and that's valid. I think that's absolutely valid. Like it exudes a sense of neutrality, or it has the potential to exude like a sense of neutrality and authority at the same time somehow. And all these other things that kind of like the news industry's gotten used to, maybe not the audience itself, but maybe the audience probably doesn't care. But I think about the fact that the audience probably does care and that they'd be rather watching Netflix or a really highly produced TikTok video.
Which, I mean, Netflix has these insane standards. I mean, that's the thing. Like, suppose it's like I don't know if like Netflix documentaries have like, you can basically, if you're going to produce something for Netflix, you have to use like 5 cameras. Like they basically have like a list of cameras. Obviously they'll make exceptions, but they're like, the RE, whatever. I don't know. I don't have a budget.
Without getting into a conversation about gear. Like my point is that
no, but that's
the audience is like, they look at like the TV. Like, I could be watching something better.
No, but that's my point, is that like it's insane because Netflix, as much as like boring and flat and kind of uninteresting, the lighting and the colors and everything like that are on 90% of what they produce. It's shocking to me because like so much, like I literally, like as we started this, I pulled up I got an email from Journalism Jobs, and like obviously I do writing, but I'm a visual. That's like my ideal. I do a little audio sometimes if I'm forced to. But I'm a multimedia journalist for Syracuse.com. That's where I used to live. And I was just like, maybe I'll apply for it or whatever. And it's like, usually it's just like sticky camera, the iPhone with a live, with the earbuds in. And that's what potentially you're going to be doing, maybe, as part of the job, because multimedia journalist means about 75,000 different things. Just like videographer means still photographer. It means like 17 different things.
MMJ in broadcasting is to this day very contentious subject. It's very, very testy.
But it's such a shitty look. Like it drives me nuts because I can tell. I mean, maybe people can't, but it's just like the quality is terrible because they usually don't have a what's the pack called? The
TU or Dejero or
the 4 cell phone pack basically that allows you to extra stream. And they don't have they don't have that. They're just running off of a cell phone network because usually it's not like a big thing. And it's
Yeah.
just like, so it's like, what is the visual at, like, I'm sorry, very much local news I'm talking about.
No,
Like,
100%.
what is
Yeah.
the visual of local news? Like, is like, I very, occasionally I turn it on. I live in,
It's row home
market with,
windows and street signs.
what's that?
It's row home windows and street signs.
Yeah. It's maddening. And like, it's so funny because it's like we had a shooting at a Walmart a couple years ago, and I just went out, shot B-roll, telephoto lens, did the whole thing. And like I found out, like I threw for my wire service, I found out that local news they were all out there because it's Norfolk, not
They
a lot
bought
of,
your B-roll because they didn't
they
want to.
bought my B-roll like couple weeks later. Like they bought my B-roll, and I'm like, I'm shooting with, at that point it was like a 2D 750s. Like it wasn't even like my mirrorless, like a nice mirrorless setup or anything like that. And so
Yeah.
it was just like, I'm like, they obviously want like a cool looking look. And
Yeah.
then I don't understand. And I think that like, I think that there's a lot of maybe, obviously there's like an older crowd that's like, this is the way we've been doing. And that's every industry, still photography. That's not a thing on, crowd. But I mean, it is just like, it kind of goes back to that, when I was talking about the NPPA conference, where it's just like the innovation of 2012 or whenever year it was that I was at there, was like the GoPro cameras, the third camera. And it was just like, okay, I remember having a GoPro camera and like whenever they came out, of course I bought one immediately because it was cool.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then I looked at the video quality and I'm like, this is horrible. Like, compared to even my two like $800 mini DV camera. I'm like, this is not great. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, even just like, like the GoPro is like the third shot, right? It's like, all right, you got this like really nicely framed, like key main shot, like nice key light.
Mhm.
Everything's going good. Oh, then you maybe have like a second camera going. Okay, it's not as considered a shot. And then it just cuts to like this like 12 millimeter, like just I can see the entire universe.
Fisheye too. You got the thing around the sides.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And it's like,
I absolutely love when I love news shots, and like again, this is very much my like thing where it's just like we have you have like either a second or third camera that shows like the lights and like shows like the context. I like that. Like
the art of
occasionally
it.
it can cut out. Yeah,
Break down the
it's
art of
also
it.
it's also really good because like people that I interview also that we do. One of my specialties is getting interviews that with people that don't want to do interviews. And so they often run away. And so that third camera is really, really important because it's a wide, but I would
Mhm.
never in a million years trust a GoPro. I'm running that camera and it's usually handheld too, but that's a different question. But
Yeah.
Surprised they don't just give you 360 cams.
ugh.
Here you go. Here's your 360 cam. That's what you're
Remember
gonna shoot
that was going to
everything
be the
with.
thing. Remember, like, was this 10 years ago that like virtual reality was going to be like the big thing? I remember so
Mhm.
many videographers who switched over and did, or not switched over, but got 360
Oh,
cameras.
yeah. The New
Oh,
York
yeah.
Times
And
had a couple
oh
like
my
these
God, yeah.
like trying to like look at this.
You can, and remember, I remember, yeah, I had that cardboard thing that you put your
Yep.
cell phone on your face or something like that.
It was, I mean, it was cool. Like I appreciated the push to try
Yeah.
something different, but it didn't
I
stick.
mean, as opposed to just spending money, especially back then, what New York Times was paying still photographers, or
Yeah.
just spend that money on journalism, which is to me always the kind of, spend it on, gear is really great and all, but like you're talking about, it's like you're not using fancy LED lights and you're not using whatever. It's just like, yeah, I mean, your E&G camera is probably $60,000, but
I think like the idea is like, hey, we're going to explore like a new medium of visual storytelling, and it turned out that like the two-dimensional visual plane is actually best for telling stories because it turns out that like that one picture of like behind over the shoulder of the kid in the boat like on like the river like on the Nile is like really awesome, and then you look all around and there's nothing else to see.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
Like,
No, I think 360 video has its place, but it's rare if it's something I ever seek out. That's for sure. But I do create it sometimes. Like actually, I created it on my vacation. I went down to Orlando, went to Kissimmee, did all the Universal parks, had my 360 camera, and while I was mostly using it to generate a 2D sort of product out of it, it's still nice to have that if I ever look back on it because I can see around me. I mean, I remember when I first got my first 360 camera, it was kind of a little bit janky, sort of this like almost light bulb shaped device, and it was like a Kickstarter project, but I was able to make like a 360 vlog with it, you know? And that was again 10 years ago or so when the hype was real. And
Yeah.
you take your phone and stick it into a device. I mean, I have the Samsung VR headsets. I know they were very popular, and it had its place. It was fun for a time, but yeah, I think it's just not practical, right? Nobody wants to put a headset on to see stuff. I
We're
mean,
late.
I mind scrolling around the video screen, but that's about the extent of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I love the effects you can do with it, like the little world and the different thing and moving around. So I still love that aspect of it, and it still has its place for that purpose. I mean, it's the action camera, right? It's the next level
Yeah.
GoPro. So you just are able to reframe after the fact, and that's what I love about them. But, speaking of vacations, anybody do any vacations? Hopefully all had a nice holiday. Of course, this is the first show after the holidays and the new year. And hopefully you had a chance to relax a little bit. So let's talk a little about relaxation, I would say. What can we do to decompress, right? Because, Zach, you were out there all day. I don't know if you were getting yelled at by people or getting side eyes or whatever.
Yeah.
You're out at night doing your video setups and stuff like that, your Oscar-winning setups. You come back home. What do you do to decompress, right? What do we as content creators, photojournalists, photographers, videographers, whatever, filmmakers. What do we do to decompress? I personally like to play video games. I've been actually playing this one called Expedition 33. It's super fantastic, game of the year, winning all the awards. I've sunk more hours than I'll admit on the record playing it, but it's just that darn good. How about you? What do you do to unwind, Matt?
I am a big Fallout 76 girl, and it's an MMORPG.
Yep.
And what I'll do is I'll come home and like participate in the end game activity that I like the most in that title, which is just basically building a Barbie's dream house. That's what I
Cool.
do. I just build my camp out and just make it cozy.
Nice.
Just like looking for setups. Um, Another good one for the wintertime that I definitely hard recommend. It's kind of a bit of a walking simulator is The Long Dark.
Hmm.
It's a
Okay.
good you're kind of stranded in the middle of the like above the Arctic Circle in Canada and you have to survive.
Well, I know as a fan of Alaska, I'm sure Zach would love that game.
Be like, that sounds terrifying. I've gotten lost in the dark in Alaska
Oh
before in
no.
the
Oh yeah.
winters. So yeah, it's
Well,
that.
I think I saw a social media post where you said you regret leaving Alaska.
Oh yeah, totally. My of the last, I've many regrets in my life, but
Don't
that's
we all?
among my top two.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Zach, how about you? What's your unwind?
Uh, God, I God, the sad thing is it used to be like watching like good movies and things like that.
Yeah.
Now it's just Law and Order. I just put on like old Law and Order, like early 90s Law and Order, and not SVU, none of that stuff. Just
Yeah.
old Law and Order, and I just rewatched. I it sucks because I've just run out of the good. Now it's getting into the more modern, and they're
Hmm.
starting to deal with like more modern issues. And I'm like, no, I want to deal with like gritty, have the gritty New York, like deli owner that just got, his one of his customers got shot, and he's like sassy about the fact that, what do you mean I can't sell my bagels? We gotta reopen the store. Like, what are you doing this investigation? And they always had such great New York characters that, like, it's one of the things that, like, I mean, I never want to move back to New York again. I did my time there. But like, it made me want to move to New York, is like these great characters and like that. And it doesn't matter. It'd be like, I can walk out of the room, make coffee and come back in, and Law and Order, it's just on. I have the Hulu with no ads, so it just
Ooh.
goes through, and I'll like
Rich
wake
guy,
up.
Mr. Rich guy over here.
Oh yeah. Well, no, I got a deal. You get that HBO Hulu Max
Oh
deal,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it's $30 a month, and then you threaten to cancel it, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
$20 a month.
There you go.
Just like my Adobe subscription, I'm continually threatening to cancel it, and they're like, okay, like, we'll
Yeah.
lower it a little bit.
You know what they should do? They should take all those streaming services, patch them together,
Yeah.
and then make like each one on its own. We can call it a channel,
Maybe you
right?
get
And
like a little
then
box that you put
yeah,
underneath the
yeah,
TV.
there
Yeah,
you
and you have
go.
it
I
go
love
click through.
it.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
know.
Dean
Anyways,
Rubin was one of my comms professors at Syracuse University, and that was exactly the point he made. He's like, "You're all going through the great unbundling now, but give it a couple of years, and they'll just be bundle them back up again, and you'll be
yeah.
paying more than you ever did for cable."
Or
We are
Netflix would just buy all the companies, and it'll just be the one
It'll just be
omni
yeah.
drowned.
source.
And it'll be $72. I mean, I just canceled my Netflix subscription because it's kind of like, I pop around. I'm gonna go get an Apple Plus after this
Yeah.
because there's a couple things on there that I want to watch. And I'm just like, but with no ads and doing like this so that more than one person can ever like look in the direction of Netflix now. Like it's like, what is it, like $30 a month just for Netflix? Which like they got a lot of stuff, but like it's not it's not justified. If I can get Hulu and which has all the things and HBO. Sorry, I'm just going on it's the same for the same price as just Netflix with ads often. I'm just like, yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
Yeah. We my wife and I call it content. Like when we like watch a show or a movie on Netflix or Amazon Prime or something like that, like you can kind of clearly tell like this has been written to be like not watched.
it's the second screen,
Secondary viewing. Yeah.
which
No,
yeah.
100%.
Well,
And
no, they actually have that's actually in their scripts.
it's doctrine. Yeah, no,
Yeah, doctrine. Yeah.
It's doctrine. And I'm just there's so much of it. There's so much of it. But the Law and Order thing, though, every time we go on vacation, we watch Law and Order in our hotel room. That's like when we're back, like just relaxing, we just put Law and Order on. That's her thing, and I enjoy it. But
Just need the reassuring dulcet sounds of the dun dun to make you feel good.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so a lot of great things out there to help us unwind. Before we end this week's show, of course, I want to know what you thought what your best of 2025 was, whether that be photojournalism, story, movie, documentary. What kind of like is the best thing with regard to a relation to our field that you sort of witnessed, saw, experienced, or want to highlight?
I'm gonna need to go second on this one. Zach, you go first.
It's funny because I was desperately trying to find this image that I would say image of the year. There's but I'll have to I'll add it in the post credits. But there's this fantastic image of a priest. I can't find the image now, so I'm describing it. I do have a second one that we can actually talk about. But like it's a priest sitting lit up. He's looking at his cell phone, sitting in the front seat of a car, and next to him, encased, is the shrunken skull of a saint because it's an artifact of Catholic artifact, and he's just sitting in his car, and it's this fantastic shot from outside, and it's just like I think it's on Times all the top one, at least one of the top 100 of the year.
I can just share your screen. Let's just look at it.
I can't find it.
Wow.
I have to find it. When I saw the things as I've been driving, so like I haven't had a chance to look for it until I sat down here. But for me the big thing of last year, barely. I mean, obviously there's a lot of amazing photojournalism. I mean, all of my friends have been kicking ass across the board, covering like the Chicago protests against ICE and everything. But is Christopher Anderson's White House photos for that Vanity Fair story. Let me see.
Oh yeah, no, those were remarkable.
Yeah,
that was almost like he got like forensic with it.
It is. I mean, I've been following him for years on Instagram and things like that, and he's absolutely incredible. I don't know. Do we want to do a share screen or do we just want to share links?
You can share a screen if you got something ready to share.
His like the almost surprised look, like the photos have a feeling where you're like, okay, like what I do when I take family photos is I go, okay, or whenever I take anybody's photos, especially at like weddings or whatever, because I want to get a natural reaction, and as opposed to the terrible, big smile or whatever that people do, is I go, okay, I start clicking and I'm like, okay, on three, click, 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 1, 2, 3, and I keep just burst clicking through, and that has this feeling there's just like everybody almost looks kind of unprepared, especially like was it Susie Wiles in this dead center here photo, and like the of course this, god damn it, this one doesn't have it, but the absolute chutzpah, I'll say, of him. There's these fantastic photos where they have Stephen Miller, they have the Vice President of the United States standing up against a bare wall with like the light switch behind him. And the biggest thing that I found interesting about it is the conversation on, I don't know if any of you are on Threads, but it is the worst place imaginable to be on photography threads, like the Facebook's Twitter clone.
Mm-hmm.
It is the worst place to be because people do like post to like be like, I don't know, I think Leicas suck, and just like and just get people, and it's just like, yeah, you know what, I'm not a big fan of like, whatever. I think they're overrated, but
Wait,
like just like, yeah, clickbait on everything. But like there's some people that I'm like, do you not get, be like, what? I think these photos are terrible. Like they're badly lit, the color's off, and like why would they possibly just line them, putting them up right up against a wall, like all of the things that you're taught in good portrait photography, just to back them away from the wall so there's not a shadow. And it's like, yeah, do not like it's just like it always shocks me that you just don't get the point of like of doing things poorly, like it's just like, you know great guy Mark Peterson, one of my favorite, good friend, shot strong flash photography in the front, and it's just like, well, why is he putting his flash so close to people's faces? He's getting the pores or whatever. It's like, yeah, it's separating, it's shocking, it's giving a certain visual look that you do. Everything doesn't have to be, it's just like, it's such the Vanity Fair of Christopher Anderson is that, their in-house person used to be basically Annie Leibovitz, which they'd be well lit. There'd be 32 lights that have a staff of 24 people, and flattering of all these lighting things. And it's just like, you can't do that. I mean, I don't know what anyone's, I know what some people, like the politics of this, but it's just like, not, not a group of people that you should do flattering photos of. I'm sorry. Like, and it's just like, and especially it matches it. This is something that like always made me maddening about. There'll be this New York Times interview with like one of the, like Nick Fuentes, like one of the worst people. He's a Nazi. He's a white nationalist. He hates women, like all of these things. And then there'll be this, like, he'll be like on a, on a side table with like a nice like hardwood table with soft light coming in. And you're like, why don't these photos match in any way, shape, and form the story of this person who's just a vile, horrible human being by like anyone's standards? Like Nick Fuentes is a literal Nazi. Like he's not a great person. And it's just like, you don't. Yes, you should like them so that it's not against who they are. Like I've taken many photos of most of the people who are here. I've taken photos of Marco Rubio.
Question for you though, just
Yeah.
to interrupt for a moment.
Yeah.
Like, do you believe that everyone in this picture sees themselves the same way the photographer sees them?
I would imagine not.
No?
I mean, I don't know, but
Well,
like,
I think what you're kind of what's interesting about what you're talking about is really like, this kind of like what I love about this imagery, and like what I kind of loathe about it too,
Mhm.
is it does straddle the line of
Yeah.
photojournalism and activism.
Yeah. Well, it's,
Like
I mean,
it is like you said, you set up all the bowling pins, buddy. Like
Yeah.
putting somebody up against the wall and like
Yeah.
casting a shadow, like like it's a Francisco Goya painting, like they're about to get fucking shot. Like that's extremely intentional, right? And yeah, like that begs so many questions about journalistic integrity as it pertains to framing these people, because ostensibly Vanity Fair is editorial, sure, but like these are documentary style, like portraiture.
Well, and I think that that's important, is the differential. Like, and Christopher Anderson is a fantastic photojournalist who is doing documentary work here. And I think that I always think that there's a difference between like documentary work. Like I know people that define themselves as documentary photographers versus like, I'm a photojournalist. And maybe that's just because I don't have like a fancy style or something like that, and I just try to take good, try to take a photo. But that's a joke. But
I understand that the difference in them, but the problem, the actual problem, Zach, is that you and I know that difference. But the public doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're going to look at this and be like, oh, well, this is just more like coastal elite liberal media, just like painting the people that we have voted into office as monsters.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem.
And it's, I mean, the thing is, it's Vanity Fair. and it is a coastal elite magazine. And I mean, like, he is shooting uh, the different, what I guess, like, you'd also like have the question is, like, what's the difference between Annie Leibovitz, photographing a Henry Kissinger or something like that, where it's going to be this gorgeous lighting, perfectly, like an redwood encased library with a big leather chair and that type of thing, and it's just like a snifter of brandy and just being like this gorgeously well lit photo. Whatever, I'm just describing an imaginary shot, it's not an actual photo. But and she would do that for everybody, and it wouldn't matter. And same thing with like the New York Times, which is like, I don't know, I mean, you have people, like, again, the Nick Fuentes photo, they have, like, they did that, there's a Google search at the intellectual dark web, they did this big piece where they photographed some of the, again, in my personal opinion, some of the worst people on the internet, that like make people into hate women and and whatever, just like the really far, I would say far right. I mean, they don't even speak at CPAC, like that level kind of intellectual thing. And they had these great, I mean, they're good portraits if you take out the context of the person that they are. Like photos of them with like lighting, natural lighting with like vines behind them, and it's it's like, oh, it's a mystery, and it's the dark web. There's a metaphor there that they're building,
Yeah.
and like, it's the color is, the color's deep and rich, and like the New York Times, the deep blacks that they absolutely love, that somehow all of their cameras and all their photographers somehow produce these colors, with no editing and no editing anyway. But that's a big conversation that a bunch of photojournalists have been having over the last couple of years. It's like, oh, it's weird how this newspaper with like everybody using Nikons and Sonys and Canons all have the kind of the same color palette. That's weird. But it's obviously, there's always deep choices that you make, and I think my original point was like that I want the photos to match the story.
Yeah.
And like, this is a critical piece of on the administration and describing the kind of really terrible, the immigration raids and the things that they're doing and who these people are. I mean, Stephen Miller, like, and these things that they believe, and talking to them in a weird way that like you just don't understand. Like, I never understand. I'm an investigative journalist. I never understand why people talk to me. I just don't understand it at all. Like, because I mean, like, I usually, if I'm trying to get something out of it, I'm like, why are you telling me these things? Why are you talking to me? And it's like, why are they talking to Vanity Fair? Why would they pose for those photos? Did they not do? To me, it's the story is so fascinating that like they allowed Christopher Anderson, who is on Instagram. You can look at his photos. Why would they allow him in the room? If I was the press secretary, like, to me, if I was Trump and I saw this, especially how concerned with visuals and like how he looks or whatever, I would have fired the press secretary that day, the day this published came out. They're just like, you let
That's big.
Christopher Anderson in the room?
And yeah, no. But to like kind of to wrap it up, I guess.
Yeah.
I gotta get going soon, guys.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I wonder what will last longer: the official portraits of the president and his executive secretaries, or photos like this. But just to comment on the point you were kind of driving home there about just like the one size fits all, if you will, like Leibowitz's style applied to everybody.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, I think a lot of it's just like boredom in the industry, and what happens, the outgrowth of that boredom is the politicization, like the overt, like unsubtle politicization of imagery, like this. And that's what this is. It's very unsubtle, and I think these are really interesting. Like, these will be interesting historical artifacts, but in the broader discourse, I'm not sure what it actually is gonna, if it's helping or hurting anyone's cause here. I think that's my big concern.
Yeah. I'll quickly show my photo. I've got one here. It's from the wildfires, actually, because that happened this year. In case anybody forgot, I know a lot of stuff has happened, and trying to get away from politics on this day especially. But I like this photo from the California wildfires. You can all see that, right?
No, sir. There we go.
There we go. Yeah. So I thought this photo was pretty good by Ethan Swope. Or Swope.
Yeah.
Just really kind of put the whole thing in perspective. And I think obviously the danger and risks that photojournalists take to get these types of photos. And we've had wildlife photographers on the program in the past. If you want to watch or listen to any of those previous episodes, then they're out there. But, again, always interesting to see wildfires and, the kind of mixture and combination of both a natural event with, I'd say, urban and suburban type of environments. So again, this was something that stuck out to me, from the year in terms of being a memorable shot. And that's it from me. And then I'll turn it over to you, Matt, if you're able to think of anything, even if something you want to mention offhand, if you don't have something to show.
Honestly, I don't have a photograph. Like, I wasn't very interested in photography, like in other people's photographs this year. Nothing
It
stuck
doesn't have
out.
to be a photograph. It could be a movie. It could be
Yeah,
anything.
I'm getting there. Like I really like wish like anyway. But I think largely it was a great year for horror movies.
Ooh, horror. Okay.
Great year for horror
Which
movies.
one stood out to you?
A couple pulled up right now. I'm just gonna give you names, but oh, The Monkey was fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Companion was
Oh yeah.
really good. Did y'all see Companion?
I saw it.
Better than it had any right to be. Like that was my, like, I watched it as like a side thing and I'm like, oh, it'll be whatever. And I'm like, oh, this is really good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys catch Presence? Steven Soderbergh's new horror
No,
joint?
I did not.
That's a wild one. He is floating camera the entire time. Like it's from the POV of the ghost.
Yeah, no, it's on my list of. I actually thank you for reminding me because it was on my last year's list to make sure I saw it. I forgot to see it. So
no, absolutely. Bring Her Back was another insane one. And my personal favorite of this year, I loved Sinners.
Yeah,
I thought Sinners was like
that was a good movie.
It wasn't just like an ode or a tribute to the blues. That movie like literally was the blues. Like it just gushed and bled, and it was just
it bled. That's for sure.
Fun. Yeah, it was just so good. It was so good. I loved it so much. Anyway, that's
one movie that sticks out to me that was somewhat memorable was Begonia. I don't know if anybody saw that.
I haven't seen it yet. No,
it's a tail end one, isn't it? Didn't that just come out?
Came out, I think, like about a month ago. Yeah. So, but yeah, that was a great film. I haven't seen the new Avatar movie, but heard mixed reviews. But I'll probably go see that. And the only documentary I think, well, I remember seeing this year was The Stringer. Have you seen The Stringer?
Oh man, we gotta talk about that sometime soon.
All right, let's get in for the next hour, guys. Settle in.
Of nothing.
It's gonna be a long night.
Yeah.
Anyways,
the one I would recommend if we're talking about movies very briefly is I just rewatched it again and like it. Thankfully, it stands up. Is No Country for Old Men. Oh my God, One Battle After Another.
Mm-hmm.
If for no other reason, which the whole film is absolutely fantastic, and I think everyone should watch it. But that shot.
In that movie.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, it was really
good. The chase scene, like just for the technical aspects of the chase scene at the end,
super telephoto,
driving over.
That was actually insane. Yeah,
I was at the and it's on a straight road. Like I mean, like the chase scene, the editing, everything, but like the telephoto and like I'm like I think I know how it was done, and like so I was very happy to figure out that it was just a telephoto basically on an insane rig latched to a car, and they were just kind of driving over it, and I'm like, oh, that's always been my dream to do. And I've had an opportunity to do that a couple times, like with like a like on a Zoom, and like works briefly for a second because I'm just doing like handheld. I don't have like a rig, but
100%. One day.
Awesome, great. Yeah, I'll have to have you back on that, talk about that topic. Anyways, that's been it for our show this week. Thank you so much, Matt, for taking time out to chit-chat with us. Anything you want to plug before we say goodbye?
No, I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Not even your personal website? Was it Matthew Callahan Visuals or something.com, I think?
Nah, I'm off that.
Okay. I love that. Modesty to the end. All
right,
like,
I don't want anyone from this audience.
All right. You don't want that. You don't want the round the lens bump.
Yeah. I'm winding down my internet presence. That's what I'm doing.
There you go. Smart for the best. All right. Zach, you want to throw anything out before we say goodbye?
Vista.news, my newsletter, as always. So.
Indeed. Of course. All right, everybody. Well, for Matt Callahan and Zach Roberts, I'm David J. Murphy, and this has been Around the Lens Roundtable Discussions. We'll see you all next week. Bye, everybody.
See you guys.